Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hi, hello there. Welcome back to my course on developing soft skills and personality. I am Ravichandran from the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences, IIT Kanpur. So, this course has been given to you as part of NPTEL MOOCs project. We are on the third week, module 2, and then this is the lecture number 14. In the previous lecture, I talked to you about habits, and then I initiated the discussion on identifying good and bad habits. Towards identifying that, I started giving you some guidelines, and then let me give you a quick highlight of what we discussed in the previous lecture. I tried to make you understand that whenever you think about habits, you are taking for granted so many things. You have lot of presumptions associated with, such as you have the wrong impression that you can form any habit easily, and more than that you also have the impression that you can change it easily. With that wrong presumption, you let bad habits accumulate. In fact, I gave the example of how bad habit accumulates. It's just like the cloth that you keep throwing on your cot or table until it becomes a big pile, just like the paper you throw or the dust that accumulates on the fan. So, initially you do not notice it, slowly it becomes a very big unmanageable pile, and then you start panicking and try to do something about it. Now, not all habits as you think are easily formed, especially the good ones. The good ones are very difficult to form, and most of our habits are unconscious behavioral responses to external stimuli. They are stimulated by some kind of external thing, but internally in our brain it is triggered, and then we are made to respond in a certain manner. We look at this aspect more in detail in this and the coming lecture. But then after talking about this, I started telling you about the guiding principles to identify good and bad habits. So, towards the end, I told you about the story of the father hitting nails on the wall, and then the lesson that we can derive from that story is that bad habits, even if you change it, will still leave an indelible mark on your character. It's safe and better all the time to work on habits which are good, especially if you think of developing your personality. Try to completely remove bad habits and try to develop as many good habits as possible, because as I said, even at a later stage when you think that you will give up some bad habit, sometimes it becomes too late, and sometimes even if you change it, people are not going to forget that you had those habits during your early days. So, keep that in mind, as it was told by the father to the son. So, remember the moral that it's better to avoid it so that you develop a strong personality and nobody points that to you even at a later stage. Now, coming back to our discussion, as I said that this week is full of stories, and then at the beginning also I said I am fond of telling stories. I am going to tell you another story. This story is about a patient, and then when the story begins, so it's in the ICU, okay, of a hospital. Now, in the hospital, a patient is lying, and then next to the patient, his wife is there. She is so worried, and then she has a very small baby in her hand, and then two kids are standing next to her. So, and then they are so worried because it looks like this guy has got some kind of terminal disease, and obviously from the face and all that, it looks like he is suffering from cancer. And then the fact that he is in ICU, it looks like he is just waiting for giving his last breath, and then he may die any time. So, this is the moment, and then they are hoping that there is a doctor, a special doctor, and then he is able to do something about it, and then they are hoping that if this doctor comes and then takes him for a surgery, accepts him, there is some hope. Now, this doctor has gone to America and then he has made his world tour and he is a very busy person, and they were waiting for the doctor. Unfortunately, that day the doctor has said that he would be coming, and then they are just eagerly awaiting the doctor with the hope that the doctor will come and then save this patient who is suffering from cancer and who may die any moment. And he is with a family, and then he has 3 kids, and then the wife and the mother of the 3 kids, she is so worried about this situation, so much stress. Okay. And then the doctor enters. So, they are very happy to see the doctor, and then the doctor has been briefed about the case that this person has been suffering from cancer, and they are waiting for him to do some kind of surgery so that he can be saved, or at least he can live for some more time. Now, the doctor reads the name of the person and then quite puzzled, and then he looks deeply into the eyes of the other person, that is the patient, and the patient also looks at the doctor, and slowly they start recognizing each other. And then there is, let us say, a flashback, and then we go to the childhood of the patient. And in the childhood, so he is close with a friend, and then with this friend they are growing up. So, one day when they go to the school, so this friend says that hey, come on, yeah, you are just still like a kid, let us behave like grown up adults. Okay, then this person asked him, like, what do you mean that I should become a grown up guy? He said that, look at this, I have started smoking cigarette and then I feel like a man, and why not you start this? Now, this guy was too much afraid, and then he was thinking, no, I won't start smoking cigarette, and then my father is very conservative, and then we are not from that kind of family, and it's really bad and all that. Now, he said, oh, all this crap, you just leave it, it's just fun. Okay, and if you're a friend, you should have it, and I'm your friend, and I'm not telling you bad things. Now, this guy started smoking, that is in the flashback, and then we come back to the current scenario that he's in ICU surrounded by his wife and kids, and it is the same patient who is suffering from cancer is the one who was very much afraid of starting smoking. But then who is the doctor? As most of you might have guessed it by this time, the doctor is his friend who actually made this guy develop this habit of smoking by telling him that he is his friend, and then he should be a man and he should behave like an adult. And then this guy was completely taken aback to see this doctor so healthy, so popular, so wealthy, and so prized by everybody for saving people, entire humanity, and then his surgeries are so popular. And what happened? So then he says, hey, you, and then he says, oh, is it you? Oh, and then they were so surprised, and at the same time then the patient in a kind of stammering voice, struggling, and then he wanted to ask him just one thing, what about you? Are you still smoking? To which the doctor just laughed, and then he said that, oh, come on. So, that was just for the childhood fun. So, I just gave it up even the time when I went to college, and then when I was serious about my medical profession, I knew that it's not good for a doctor. I just gave it up long before. The day I got a medical seat, I just gave it up, and I never knew that you would have continued like this. It looks like you have become a chain smoker, and then you are not able to stop this habit, and look where you have come to. So, I didn't expect this from you. Now, what is the lesson that you learn from this? The lesson is both good habits and bad habits are formed by peer group influence and or the environment. It's the people around us or the surrounding that's actually giving us the stimulus to do something and then form a habit. It may be good habit, it may be bad habit. But as said in the story, much depends on the individual perception and belief to retain a good habit or to change a bad habit. Now, look at the same environment in both the doctor as well as the patient started smoking. In fact, it is the person who became the famous doctor later was the actual culprit, was the one who was responsible for making this patient develop the bad habit, right? But at the same time, if you look at them as individual, what are their perceptions and beliefs? Now, whereas for the doctor, he realizes that once he becomes a doctor or even before that, once he started joining the medical college itself, he thought that it's a very unhealthy practice and then it doesn't become of a doctor to continue that way and then he just gave it up. Whereas for the other person who has become the patient, his perception of that was that okay, it's something that I started with my friend and then he got trapped, he became enslaved, okay, he got entrapped in that and then he is not having a belief or a value system by which he can come out of it. So, that is the lesson that one needs to learn from the story, that it's really risky in terms of bad habits because so much willpower is required to come out of it or so much change has to come from your own belief and value system so that you are able to make positive change in terms of changing your bad habit. Now, the next guiding principle to identify whether something is a good or bad habit, I just want to highlight this point. Bad habits give immediate satisfaction, gratification, but results in poor long term results. So, how do you identify that it's a bad habit? When you enjoy that habit, it gives you utmost satisfaction immediately. Again, I can go to the example of drinking alcohol. Okay, so evening there is a party, you drink and then you enjoy the party, so you danced and then you just freaked out, fine. But then the next day morning, the hangover or even that late night when you started vomiting and when you fell sick till the morning. So, that previous day was okay, but then in terms of even the immediate result, it was not helpful. But if you look at good habits, they do not give instant gratification, but benefits with rich dividends in the long run. Any good habit will benefit you with rich dividends in the long run. So, for example, doing things in time, okay, so that I need not tell you that it will give you rich rewards in the long run. When I said that, I just want you to give you some examples of what we can generally consider in the terms of principles that we talked about. What can we consider as the good, the bad and the ugly habits? Now, do we really have ugly habits? I just put that just to indicate to you, bad habit, when it is again taken to an excessive extreme, it will become ugly. Again, going back to the example of drinking alcohol in the party, so somebody drank just to a limited quantity, that is fine. But in the same party, the person went overboard, took lot of excessive amount of the liquor and then he was not able to drive the car, he hit somebody, so that becomes ugly. Or he was not able to walk properly, he fell on the road, on the mud and then people saw him and made fun of him. Now, the same bad habit can become ugly. So, if it is not checked and then controlled, if it is allowed to go to the extreme situation, it can become ugly. Look at some simple ones, bad habit this side and good habit this side. Sleeping late night, it's a bad habit. Getting up early is a good habit. Delaying, procrastination is bad. doing it in time is good. Now, disinterest in health and hygiene. Now, thinking that okay, I'll harm my body, so I'm very strong, nothing will happen to me. So, that's bad. You slowly form this kind of habit. Take for example, in terms of becoming overweight. Okay, you don't develop that one day. Okay, you maybe your fondness for sweet, or your disinterest in doing exercise, even doing small walk, or your attitude that I don't care, I will eat junk food, and then I enjoy being fat and plumpy. So I don't care about what people tell about me. So that is your general disinterestedness in terms of health and hygiene. But on the good habit side, maintaining fitness and keeping the surroundings clean. So bad habit, gossiping, you start slowly and then it develops gradually. Criticizing others. Now this side, if you want to develop a good habit, the person says only good things about others and all the time focused on developing self, growth of oneself. Bad habit, this side, any excessive, any addictive habits, whether it is drinking or drugs, or even just spending time excessively in terms of social networking and forgetting that there are some really important jobs to do, and then you were completely lost in this and then you missed very important activities. So anything that is excessively controlling you, making you a slave, so that is bad. Now this side, it's not that a person with good habits is completely avoiding all these things. The person enjoys these things in moderation, and especially the person avoids harmful ones. Take for example drugs. So one philosophy says that if you really want to know what life is, you should experience everything. Okay, so eat, live, and be merry. So you even taste what you can say as even something like a bad habit in terms of drinking. They say that even you taste it, taste little bit. Okay, but in terms of bad habit, tasting something like a very addictive drug, it's going to harm you, harm your people who are around you, your family, your workplace, and then you just start with one addiction and then you will end up with forming lot of other bad habits, such as telling lies, such as even stealing money, such as even thinking about some criminal activities in order to sustain the bad habit. So one thing leads to other and then it becomes a very powerful chain which you realize that you cannot break it so easily. It has become so powerful. Now this side, simple thing like whiling away time in watching TV or the surfing the internet. So that slowly piles up. So I have seen students initially starting with two windows, one window actual academic work, the other window Facebook or some other social networking site is open. Now initially nothing happens, suddenly a message comes, okay, it pops up. So he's just tempted to see who is sending that. He responds and then the guy says, I have put this post, take a look. He goes to the post. From the post there are other links and then he thinks he'll browse further. He gets a feeling that, oh, I missed so much. So what is he doing? And then he sends another thing. The other guy also comes. They say that why not we all chat together. They keep on chatting. And by the time they realize, so it's like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock early in the morning, when they started sometime around 7-8 in the previous day evening. So time just passes only in whiling away, just wasting. Now this side, the person who is interested in developing good habit, he or she uses time discreetly. Time is seen as a rare commodity, it's planned, it's used in terms of rationing, and time is at most not wasted. This time, this side, the bad guy, the bad habit formed person eats untimed food. So suddenly 3 o'clock, he or she wants something. So they go and ransack whatever there that is kept in the kitchen or in the fridge. Okay. and most of the times it is junk food. Now this time the person who is trying to develop good habit eats in time and eats healthy food. So many examples we can give. So bad habit, one more thing is stealing things, but then a good habit that one has to develop is to create those habits which will create a kind of image that this person is honest and trustworthy. We will look at more examples later, but I just want to give you a break by giving you one more story and then coming out with one more lesson and a guideline based on the story. This is a story I read when I was a kid, and then it left a very lasting impression about why I should not develop bad habits. Now look at this, it's actually about a mother who loved her son so much. So if you ask me whether this mother is loving this son less than any other mother, no, perhaps she is the one who loved this son so much. But how does the story unfolds for us? This time the story unfolds just on the last day in which a prisoner is about to be hanged. Okay, death sentence has been given to him, so he is about to be hanged, and then just before that, so few hours before that, they come and tell the person that a visitor has come and then she wants to meet you. She's sobbing, she's crying, and then she's desperate. So the prisoner tells the jailer, the warden, he says that, sir, that's my mother. So then the jailer thinks that obviously the son would be interested in meeting the mother. So he says that, okay, I'll just bring her. He says, wait sir, stop. Why? I don't want to see her. So the jailer was very surprised. See, this is the last day, last few hours, few moments in your life, and then it's your mother, and who would not like to see one's mother just before the point of death? And she has come and she is so desperate to see you, why not you give her a chance? To which the son says, you won't believe that I am here because of her. Again the jailer knows his entire story. He says, no, I remember that you just went to rob a bank and then the manager there was resisting and then he didn't want to give you the money. So in a fit of the moment, in anger, you took that revolver and then shot him dead. By the time police came, they caught you, and then since it was a murder and then just before everybody's eyes, so now you are punished. So that was the most important criminal activity that you did, and how can you blame your mother for that? He said, sir, you don't know, but I would like to tell you my story. This was when I was in LKG. I just looked at a small pin that was kept by my classmate, and then I just took the pin because I wanted to use that pin for fastening some papers. Okay. That day I told my mother, I just stole the pin from the girl who was sitting next to me in the class. My mother didn't say anything. The next day I took a rubber eraser that was kept by another boy, and then I showed it to my mother. She didn't say anything because she was loving me so much. Okay. And then I went to first standard. I started stealing pencils. Okay. My mother didn't say anything. Second standard, third standard, I started continuing. I took sharpeners. When I reached fifth standard, I started stealing pencil boxes completely. And then slowly I was stealing their books, I was stealing other items. And when I reached 8th standard, I liked the watch somebody was using. So when he kept it just for some time and went for washing the face. I just stole it. Okay, I showed it, so my mother didn't say anything. Now it went on like that, and then I started stealing money from other places. Like during college, I used to steal money from outside places. Night I used to go and then steal some money, and people didn't catch me. But then I thought that I will just go for a big thing, like actually going and robbing a bank. So that was the time I went and then took the money, but then the manager saw me and then he caught me, and then in the struggle between me and the manager, so I had to kill him. Now, if my mother had stopped me at the first time when I stole that small pin for fastening some papers, if she had told me at that time, son, stealing is not good, you go say sorry and return this pin, I will get you so many pins for you. Or the next day when I took that eraser, if she had told me that I'll give you much more better ones, but return it and say sorry. Okay. So I would have stopped that habit at that time, and I would not have reached this level and become a criminal where I have to be hanged. Now do you tell me, would you like me to see her, or do you think that I am justified in this? So the jailer was speechless, and then when he narrated this story, but what is the lesson that you get? With regard to bad habits, nip it in the bud. Forming bad habits are dangerous and extremely harmful. Therefore, it is better to nip a bad habit in the bud itself. That is, in the story, if the mother had stopped him just when he took the pin, he would not have reached the level of becoming a criminal, of shooting somebody, murdering him, and because of that he was hanged and he lost his life. More than that, look at the grievous situation between son and mother. The mother who loved so much the son became the worst person that the son didn't want to face at all, look at all. So this can be avoided if you try to nip any bad habit in the bud itself. Now I would like to conclude this lecture with this note of thought from Charles Noble, who says that first we make our habits, then our habits make us. So whether good habits or bad habits, first we make them, okay, but slowly they make us. If it is bad habit, they make us bad people. If they are good habits, they really make us good people. Now again, think about that. In the last lecture, I asked you to identify your good bad habits. Now in this again you try to reassess what bad habits you need to nip at the bud itself, and then what good habits you can develop further. I will come back to you with one more story, one more instance in which you can learn some more guidelines about how you can identify good and bad habits in the next lecture. Until then, thank you. Bye.